So my name's Ian. I am one of the Hustle Brothers here. And look, this is a bit like an apology video. We tried to get Mark into the sky. Starlink's not playing ball with him. So look, I am not prepared for this one bit. Mark is coming to land now at the moment, and then he'll jump onto the stream. So comments, you really are going to have to help me out today. This was completely unplanned. We knew Mark had a Starlink, and he got into the sky. He was able to text us, but he's not able to join the stream. He believes it's the cigarette lighter in his airplane he's changing. So, look, we'll have a bit of fun. We'll talk a bit about eVTOLs now today. I actually do have a bit of news found by Dylan on ACHR Aviation today. But, we're starting to get a nice little crowd joining us at the moment. So we've Rhino Skin. Hi, all. Big shout out, my guy. What are you mostly invested in? You, ACHR, Joby, Horizon. We're getting quite a few Horizon investors at the moment. But I do have a bit of news coming out from Dylan. So any of you that don't follow Dylan on X, it's Dylan is Dylan 11. He actually has his homemade flight tracker, and he notifies us every time we get a midnight in the air. So N703AX completed a flight today, and I can't believe it. I'm after dropping a video about the record flights, the 7,000 feet flight. Problem is, today they've just completed a 10,000 feet flight. They recorded a record miles traveled of 46 miles, so that's 1 mile longer than their longest. Traveled at a whopping 143 miles per hour. If you think that record flight they done, they were traveling at 126 miles an hour, and it only took 25 minutes. Now, guys, if you want to know why are they doing these flight tests, why are they traveling at heights of 7,000, 10,000 feet, I'll give you a quick rundown on why. So these aircraft are designed to travel in air taxi channels, basically, around 1,500 to 4,000 feet. So you're going to wonder, why are they traveling at up to 7,000 feet? Why are they traveling to 10,000 feet? And it's all to do with air traffic control. So they need to be able to control the air traffic inside these channels. What this does help me think is ACHR is so bullish on this whole sector that they're expecting quite a few taxis in these channels. We're not expecting 1, 2, 5, 10 aircraft in these channels. We're expecting hundreds, if not thousands, in these cities. Now, by them demonstrating the ability to climb to over double the height of these channels, it does make me think, will the FAA stretch out these channels a little bit more? Will it rise up to 6,000, even 8,000 feet? It will be interesting to know. But guys, do let me know what you think. Joby actually had a bit of news come out around the UK CAA, if I remember. They're more or less getting the infrastructure together to get air taxis flying in the UK by 2028. And I see some of you guys there are invested in vertical. The only thing that worries me with vertical is Joby just has that much capital behind them that could they just saturate the market within the UK? Could they just go in and pump in a lot of S4s, and that way vertical just gets swallowed up? I'm not too up on vertical. We did do a few videos a few months back on them. Are they planning on city with intra-city hops? Or are they planning on doing a Horizon type business? Are they going city to city? It looks like an aircraft that can travel a lot further than just within the city. But guys, do let me know. Radial Balls says manned or unmanned. I presume this one was manned. Let me double check for you. I'm sure it said somewhere piloted. I I'll have to double check it for you. We will expect a post from ACHR Aviation within the next day or so around it, but I would presume it would be piloted. Tebow said invested in Horizon, Vertical, EHang, and EVEX. How are you getting on with EHang at the moment? I know we can be a bit bearish sometimes on EHang. It's not EHang directly as a company. It's more a Chinese-based business coming in to the likes of the US. I couldn't really see it happening. They do plan to get in there around 2032, if I believe. But I do believe they will dominate that whole Asia market. But I think they are going for something completely different. As Mark says, they're more like a big drone. Look, they are dominating what they're good at, but I just wouldn't touch them. Rhino Skins invested in HOVR and Vertical. Did you see that interview Brandon done where he said they can expect explosive growth within the next 3 to 6 months? And I was kind of trying to dissect that a little bit. I'm thinking, are they talking about announcing a partnership with a major airline? Cough, cough, Bombardier. Have they got talks of another round of investment coming in? Or, and this is the one I think it is, are we just going to see progress, milestones hit, getting towards that first flight demonstrator? They've got an 18-month runway there. And Brandon did say to Mark, it's not publicly disclosed information, so he wasn't giving away the timelines, but we could, in theory, split it in 6-month segments. And if you think 3 to 6 months' time, 3 months' time, that's around 6 months since that interview. So, look, I'm just thinking, is it going to be milestones met? Look, are they, at the moment, they're doing a big PR push. They're going around, Brandon's going around to different channels, different media sources, different conferences, spreading the word about Horizon. And I actually believe that is what's needed with Horizon at the moment. More than news, they just need exposure just to get them out there to investors. Once people learn about them, I actually believe with just the story, they'll get people investing in. That's why we're invested in them at the moment. I do like Brandon as a person, but are they stacking news? And once they get all these investors in, then we'll start hearing the news trickling out. It's an interesting one to think about. Guys, this is going to be a much more chilled out stream. I am not prepared whatsoever. Normally, I do about 3 or 4 hours research prior to a stream and have it all set up, ready to go. So I'm just talking off the top of my head today. Do bear with me. Diet says New York City should give a great picture. Did you see my video about New York City? I actually broke down the population of the US. I think it was like 347.5 million. Now, my numbers could be well off here. New York City does have 8.3 million people in it. Now, I'm only talking about the actual living population in New York. I'm not talking about tourists. I'm not talking about airport trips. I'm talking about trips to and from work, just everyday transportation. So I broke that down and it said 50% of people use public transport. So at 50% using public transport, it came at like around 4 million, 4.3 million or something like that, 4.125 million. So at 4.125 million, I said, what if air taxis take about 1% of that market share? I think that's being pretty, it's being bullish enough, but at the same time, it's being pretty lenient. I don't care whether it's the S4, the Midnight. I don't care if it's John Smith, who does love Joby at the moment. Hey, please jump into the comments and do let me know why you keep jumping into all our things and just pushing Joby. But yeah, I don't care if it's John Smith running his own personal eVTOL. At 1% market share, that is 40,000 individual trips needed. So it's every person over an individual trip. If we divide that by 4, because we know the S4 can carry 4 people, I then broke it down and said, look, what if they do around 18 trips per day? I think that's fairly bullish, but at the same time, some people are going to say it's not bullish enough if they're short journeys. But look, 18 is a nice average. It gets 555 aircraft needed per day just to move these 40,000, or to move 40,000 trips around. Now you're going to say, yeah, we could ramp that up. It could do 20, 30, 40 trips, whatever. But you need to think the likes of New York, there's only certain time frames where it's public transport is more predominantly used. So yes, they'll be going 24/7, but during rush hour, you can't have a S4 in 2 places at one time. So I think it was fairly nicely broken down. That way, 555 or S4 midnight, whatever you want. How many cities are there in the US? I forget off the top of my head. How many cities are there in the UK, Europe, etc.? You can see all of a sudden how there's plenty of room for them all to eat at the table. Even if Joby got 5, 6, 7 years ahead of ACHR, which, look, I don't believe they will, but even if they did and ACHR only entered the market, there's still enough room to eat at the table because there's just not going to be enough air taxis to keep up with the demand. And especially when these first come out, every person and their cousin would want to fly on one of these. And I've said it so many times, I don't care if it's the Midnight, I don't care if it's the S4, I don't care if it's HOVR X7, I just want to fly on one of these, but do let me know. Table says 1 on each continent. That's actually a smart plan, my guy. So you invest in, what was it? Vertical E-Hang, Eve, Horizon. Ooh, I see where you're going there. I figured the best investment is the company with the most amount of money aside and contracts with multiple companies. So ACHR and Joby. It really depends on your time horizon. I do believe Horizon Aircraft does have a nice run room to go, but yes, my portfolio I think is at 3% at the moment. I don't want to push it any higher. I'm getting hate from the Horizon guys saying I'm not bullish enough on them, but look, I ain't investing more than 3%, and 3% is pretty high on a micro cap. But ACHR, Joby, look, yeah, ACHR just less than 2 billion, Joby is it just over the billion? I've been thinking about this all week. You've seen my videos coming out. ACHR and Joby, it's just so hard to compare them at the moment. I often say, why do we compare two non-revenue generating companies? Really, we can't compare them that much until they're both even getting revenue in the door. We said they're going to change as a business completely going forward. So look, we're thinking of them as which one is the best performing aircraft, which looks nicer, etc. Look, when you order an Uber, do you care if a Fiat Punto pulls up, or you care if, I don't know, a McLaren pulls up? You're going to get in there anyway. Same with ACHR and Joby. It doesn't matter what they look like. As long as they're safe, as long as they're certified, you're going to get in it and go to your destination. So I think it's more about convenience. Who is the most efficient run business? And Adam's downfall on this side can actually be his rise on the other side. And what I mean about that, yeah, we're saying he's a bit of a salesman at the moment and there's not much to be selling a dream. But once we get to commercialization, once we get out to market, it's all about getting people on the seats. And I'm not on about, look, the demand for the eVTOLs are going to be there. But Adam just seems to be able to, I don't know, he got that big Palantir deal over the line. Like, I do question why Joby didn't go in there. And I did actually put it out in the video today. Guys, do let me know. Is there any chance that Joby could get a partnership with Palantir? Because if that's the case, could they hit the edge away from Archer then? Because they're both doing the same thing. Like, why would Palantir only want to partner with Archer and not Joby? Why would they not want to take over the whole industry? It's food for thought. Joby picked up Blade out there for ACHR. Yeah, so Joby did acquire Blade, or Blade's passenger list. They didn't acquire Blade as a company. They acquired the air transportation side of their business. Yeah, they're going integrating it into Uber. I'm thinking of it in two ways. So we have the Ryder Cup coming up, and they're going to be operating the helicopters at the Ryder Cup. Now, I know, was it Phil jumped into the comments and said there'd be 3,000 people there at the Ryder Cup. But what is that going to generate? Is it like, look, all revenue is good revenue, but I think I was looking, it was going to generate between 5 and 7 million. So, look, it's a good acquisition on that half, but I think more for the Uber infrastructure, more just dominating that market. At the moment, not much going to come to fruition, I believe. Dieta says I did. Koff says ACHR has military contracts and they have a contract to be used at the upcoming Olympics. That's one thing I actually, a bit of food for thought as well. So ACHR have that contract at the Olympics, but Delta Airlines have the contract too, and Delta Airlines have the partnership with Joby. So could you see Joby actually at the Olympics with Delta Airlines slapped on the side of it? Yes, they'd probably only be operating between the vertiport at Los Angeles Airport to wherever. But really, all you need is for it to get showcased. And I actually don't think it matters which one of them are there at the Olympics. I think it's just going to be good for the whole industry. Again, once people start hearing about air taxis, start seeing them in action, do you think they're going to remember what midnight looked like? Really? Like, I just think they're just going to want to travel in one of these. They're not going to really care. Do you think if someone showed up at a city and an S4 was sitting there and they had seen the midnight on Olympics, they ain't going to get on the S4? Of course they're going to get on the S4. I think sometimes we get pulled in too much about which one we prefer. Garth said, I would like to know why the other companies, those are the two I've done the most research on. 19,000 in US. So you'd like to know more about the other companies, or they're the only two you've done the most research on? So really, we cover Archer and Joby heaviest on this channel. We do. We have expanded into Horizon Aircraft. Guys, do let me know, which would you prefer me to start focusing on too? So what I'm doing at the moment, I'm rolling out videos on Archer every day. We have Reese ramping up on Joby. Guys, did you see Reese's video yesterday explaining Joby and, well, it was previously Uber Elevate OS, and then it was going to be, he was speaking about Joby and the partnership with Uber, how that actually fits into the whole sector. It was a really nice video. Make sure you do check that out, but don't leave me here yet. Look, would you like me to start focusing? So yeah, I'm doing that ramp up. I want to start ramping up to 2 videos a day. But look, if I do one on Archer, we have Reese covering Joby. We have Mark doing a few videos for us at the moment. We have Dylan, our air traffic controller, covering everything on X at the moment. He's actually writing a really nice thesis. He keeps sending the updated version of the thesis. I would like him to record a video once he's done that on his bull case for Archer Aviation. That would be a pretty cool one. But would you like me to start focusing on vertical aerospace, EHang, or this is one that's going to be pretty out there because I did ask it on X earlier. Ondas Holdings, ONDS, so they're a drone company. They're more into like drone services. They do have two sides of their business. Well, no, they actually have multiple, but they've split it into two. One's services, one's aerospace or something. I don't know an awful lot about Ondas at the moment, but I'm willing to learn. I know CNC is big in. I would like to get him on, but would you like me to start covering Ondas? Do let me know. Christian White says, "What's up, my guy? Big shout out. You're there every video you comment on. It doesn't go unnoticed, my guy. Big supporter. I've seen you're invested in Aurora. Would you like me to start covering Aurora? I think you're invested in Ondas too. Ondas have a nice partnership, or not a partnership. They're invested in. Is it Lightpath Technologies? Lightpath Technologies is like an optical and infrared company. They're actually pretty interesting too. But Ondas do have a nice investment in there. Data says yes. Better business plan is ACHR. Ooh, that could be a nice video comparing the two business plans. I've been doing a lot of videos recently around ACHR and comparing them to Joby a little bit, but I've been taking more of an ACHR stance on it. Would you like me to just do a flat out fact based, which is the better business model? And do let me know actually. Do you prefer when I'm sitting here and bringing things up on the screen, or do you prefer when I'm out and about? I could be on the farm, could be in the car, whatever. It honestly doesn't bother me. Also, where do I have them here? I probably don't have them here at the moment. I got these mics. They're actually quite cool. You clip them on, you can hold them. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Christian White says, one day they will acquire me as a passenger. They'll all acquire me as a passenger, my guy. Someone actually made me laugh. I did put up a poll the last day. Would you own your own personal EVTOL? And everyone's saying yes. And then there was a few, of course, there's a few that have to wreck a poll and saying no. And there was one of you jumped into the comments and said, whoever said no is afraid of flying. And that actually had me cracking up. Some of your comments do have me cracking up. I know there's two boys. What's his name? Dax Player. Dax Player's a funny one. I said it earlier. John Smith's a funny one. The two of them go to war. Bag of Holding's another funny one. There's a few you go to war with each other, and do you know what? I just don't want to get in the middle of half the time. Diet says no yet. What's this? No, yes. What are we speaking about? I'm confused. Christian says Horizon, Aurora, Red Cat. Ooh, are any of you investing in Red Cat? Talking about Red Cat, I'm investing in Redwire. It's actually starting to climb up a little bit, but I'm still down like 40% on it. Oh, we've got the big man here. How are we getting on, Mark?
Failure. Operational issues.
Got 42 people sitting here.
We will get the live stream from the airplane figured out. But yeah, 20 minutes ago I was 4,000 feet flying above this dock, and the cigarette lighter would not. This is what happens with like airplanes that are 40 years old. Is the cigarette lighter is so old it would like kick on and then kick off, and then you lose the connection. So it was just we'll get it figured out.
I'm actually getting a Starlink. It was you that actually convinced me to get one. So up at the farm, no internet whatsoever, and I thought, do you know what might be interesting?
You will love it.
Bring my laptop up there.
Dude,
so
yeah, you will love it. So, but this is coastal Georgia, everybody. This is my house where I live at. This is not my dock. This is a community dock, but yeah, it's gorgeous down here. If you can handle it.
Did you see the video I sent when I was in Italy?
Yeah, from the water.
I actually didn't put it up And I was driving a boat, and I was like, yeah, here at the Hustle Brothers, Liam drives boats, Mark drives plane.
I saw that. That was great. So what have I missed?
So
Other than
Dylan put up today.
a bloody day in the market.
Yeah, it was. I think the whole market did tank, didn't it? But
It
did you
did.
see
It
Dylan
did.
put up that Archer done the 10,000 feet flight? It was a
Yes.
record distance, 46 miles, and it reached 146 mile per hour.
Mhm.
Now, this was one thing I wanted to grab you on. I did drop video earlier on the 7,000 feet. No, they're saying it's for air traffic control. So basically, they raise the height as the traffic comes in. Now they're demonstrating they can go up to 10,000 feet. Could they?
Mhm.
So they're traveling between 1,500 feet and 4,000 feet. Could they expand them channels now that they've demonstrated they can fly
Oh,
higher?
certainly. Well, not only can you expand the channel or yeah, the stratified airspace, you can go higher, and there will be many times you'll need to do that. I'm sure the airspace most likely. I would see these, especially urban eVTOLs, wanting to fly between sea level and up to 10,000 feet. So being able to demonstrate that, because um, a lot of the airspace, once you get above 10,000 feet, especially down at sea level, um, most of your general aviation aircraft aren't going to be flying at that height or higher. Um, Especially people like just your day flyers who've got a Piper Cub and they're going to go out and fly around the patch a couple times. It's going to be traffic that's going to be on a flight plan, or just going in a straight line because they're going a long cross country distance or something. So um, but another aspect of being able to demonstrate going up to those altitudes is just taking off at airports that are higher altitudes and
Okay.
demonstrating potentially. So because, for example, Denver is, they call it the mile high city for a reason. It's because it's at 5,000 feet, and that's 5,000 feet sea level. And an airplane in Denver thinks it's at 5,000 feet, so the air is less dense.
That makes so much sense, but I never thought of it.
Yeah, yeah. So being able to demonstrate now, if they were actually, what would be really impressive for either of these companies or any of these VTOL companies to demonstrate actually flying up to that altitude, going to a hover, and then transitioning at that altitude, because then you're demonstrating that you can vertically lift at Denver, or like the airport in Littleton, Colorado, which is at the top of a mountain, is 10,000 feet. So if you could lift one of these aircraft off at 10,000 feet in the much less dense air, you're just expanding the capability of the airplane. So
And then did you see Travis, Let's Talk Joby, put it up the demonstration of the S4 hovering.
that was in Japan, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Toyota actually came out with it today or something, and they're creating a helicopter.
Toyota's creating a helicopter.
Toyota's creating a helicopter. Let me get that. I was only
Interesting.
running through information earlier, and I think it was Travis again put it up.
Hmm.
Let me see if I can get it up on the screen. I said normally I'm well prepared for this, but
Yeah.
my head's fried today.
Again, I wanted to give everybody on the channel like a flight. It's obviously, you can see behind me, it's these high whispering clouds and everything, and it was a beautiful flight. I had to do a currency check, so I went and did a short flight with a instructor, and now I'm good for another 2 years. But then coming back, it was like, well, let's plug the Starlink in and let's make this happen. And sure enough, it didn't want to play ball. But
Yeah, here we go. Aero Toyota just unveiled the new private mobility concierge service, Misola. They'll fly
okay.
private charters using beautiful AW169 helicopters. And there you go.
I mean, I guess that's a 135. That's an investment. It gets them into the space, but that's been done for a long time now as well. Unless they want to start following just the likes of Joby and what Joby's doing with Blade. Maybe at some point they'll marry the two together.
Then Brandon has been doing interviews left, right, and center. They did unveil the prototype, the Cavra X7, at Toronto at a rare earth mining conference. Brandon had an interview there, and he said we can expect explosive growth within the next 3 to 6 months. Now, if your CEO comes out and says that, he's pretty sure there's something on the cards. You don't just come out and say that willy-nilly.
Yeah, it'd be good if we could get another interview and question him on
for
that.
sure.
I know Matan is wanting an interview as well, and is trying to get an interview with him as well. But he's
pretty
a busy
busy
man
at the moment.
He's a busy man at the moment.
Guys, do jump into the chat. Let us know. Do you want us to have another interview with Brandon? I was kind of thinking about it. So remember you asked Brandon about the milestones towards the first flight demonstrator, and he's saying explosive growth within the next 3 to 6 months. So initially I was thinking, okay, is it they're going to announce like an airline partnership with like Bombardier or something like that? And I thought, I don't know. Then I was like, new investment maybe. And then I was like, I don't know. But then I was like, he did say to you, it's not public information, but you can split it into like 6-month intervals. And in 3 months' time, it's near enough 3 months or so since we done the interview. So are they just going to start hitting milestones with the flight demonstrator? And is that what the big news is going to be?
Well, I don't know if it'll be necessarily the demonstrator. I think that explosive growth might be. They could potentially say, well, maybe they have a customer. Maybe they now have a launch customer. They could say, yeah, we've just. It could be Air Canada or someone in Europe or someone in the States. You never know. I would read explosive growth as either explosive growth in their hiring and their progress that they're making in development. I would take it as potentially a launch customers and just explosive growth in interest and investment.
No, if they get a launch customer, do they get capital up front at all?
It depends. It all depends on how that contract works. If it were a military contract, a lot of times the military is going to step in and give you money for development. But those are typically program of records that you have to compete for, and that would be much more public. But the military will do, at least the U.S. government does. They'll do contracts where they'll say no. It's a what is it called? A no bid contract, which basically means that nobody else can. They've deemed that nobody else can support what the need is. So then they just hand the contract to a company and you're off to go and support that contract, whatever that contract would be. I don't know if Canada has a similar type thing, but it's
what
tough
kind of
to
height
say.
can we expect the Cavra X7 to fly at?
If it's a PT6 in wingborne flight, it should be able to fly all the way up to probably 24 to 30,000 feet. It wouldn't be able to hover at those heights, but you're not going to take it to the top of Mount Everest and land it either. So you would be again, all of like the hover capabilities and the vertical lift capabilities. A lot of that's dictated on your altitude that you're doing it at. And if you're at sea level, the air is much more dense. Remember on one of the previous podcasts, you asked about high temperature or low temperature. And low temperature is better because the air is more dense when it's colder. And it's the same thing at lower altitudes. It's just the air is more dense because think of it like when you're in a pool and you swim down to the bottom of the pool, there's more pressure. Or if you go scuba diving, the further you go down, the more pressure is. And it's the same thing with the atmosphere. The atmosphere is, for all intents and purposes, is a liquid. It's just a very, very non-dense liquid. But when you're at sea level, there's a lot more there's a higher column, so you've got higher pressure. But all of these, those will become operating limitations for all of these different aircraft, is how much lift you can carry vertically at different altitudes. And that'll all be coming out eventually.
One thing I did notice with Brandon in that interview, they asked the use cases for the Cav X7, and I've noticed with Brandon a good few times now, he always focuses in on that medical evacuation. He definitely sees a gap in the market there, and he sees potential revenue.
Yeah.
I myself, off the top of my head, wouldn't have thought that was a big part of a market. But then when he actually says you're going more or less double the speed of a helicopter and you can land anywhere and pick up someone from the side of the road, and I can definitely see the use case behind it. Could you see them more as a medical evacuation type of vehicle than regional air taxi type of flights?
I think it can be all of them in one. It's
Okay.
certainly, I see the Cabaret X7 as, it's going from point to point, New York to Washington, DC, or it's going, you look on their website and they have it drawn out, or it'll go even further. It'll go hundreds of miles. Now, with that said, if you're out in Canada and you are out in way out in the middle of the nowhere and you need to get to Toronto, or you need to get to Montreal to a trauma one level medical center, an X7 is going to be far more effective than a helicopter, just because it will go so much faster too.
I didn't realize this. Rhinoskin says Vertical Aerospace has 1,000-mile range hybrid. I didn't realize Vertical Aerospace had a hybrid.
I'll have to look into that and see. 1,000 miles is a long ways. So.
The one thing about the VX4 is it looks very much like an aeroplane. I think it looks even more like an aeroplane than the Midnight does. Let me quickly get it up on the screen here. It looks very military.
Yeah, well, it's
There's no
thin.
windows on it either.
It's interesting how it's a very thin. Yeah, it does not have a wide fuselage at all, which is. But
Yeah.
they could theoretically, their hybrid could be. You could have an APU running and just a turbine running, and that turbine is purely producing enough energy to run all of your lift fans. I don't necessarily think that that's the most efficient, but a lot of aircraft companies are doing that now. Electra, that is their plan for their electric hybrid, is they'll be spinning an APU, which is just a small turbine that's hidden inside the fuselage. And that is spinning a large generator, which is giving you the power required to run your fans. And then you're basically converting gasoline to electrical power to run your fans, compared to pulling that power from batteries, which is heavy. I have to admit, I have to admit, myself and a couple of engineers, we are running some numbers in the background right now about like that use case for batteries versus APUs versus, and it really comes down to, in the beginning stages, as a weight study and getting everything packaged. And if you go all electric, what does that weight look like? If you go hybrid, what does that total weight look like for the aircraft?
Guys, make sure you follow Glass Air 278 on X. That's Mark's X account.
Yeah, I really need to post.
Pipeline.
I need to post more comment or more stuff on my X channel. I don't. You'll just, at this point, I will admit, if you go to my channel and you follow me, you're just going to see some photos of flying stuff. But I will start.
What I might do, I might edit a few
adding to
shorts and clips and stuff like that, and we can just fire them up on your X.
Sure, we could do that. Well, let's make some together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
then your friend Terry says, "What's out there for Archer to pick up?" Now, the only thing is, like, guys, don't get it twisted. I don't think Joby has a monopoly at all. I think there's enough room at the table for absolutely everyone to eat. Even if Joby was there, even if they are 10 years ahead, well, maybe not 10 years, but they're just not able to manufacture enough to keep up with the demand in the
You're exactly
industry.
right.
Even if they go in the same city as each other, the demand is going to be there. I banged the numbers together. I'm not going to go through them again, but yeah, New York, you're looking at, it was like 555 aircraft,
Yeah.
running 18 trips per day. Like, it's insane.
Yeah. If Joby were, let's say Joby were a year ahead in certification, okay, Joby's going to be able to produce what, 50 aircraft in that first year. So they've got a quantity of 50 ahead of them. It's not that much. I mean, this market is going to become so large. And again, once you can't do commercial operations unless you're certified. So both of them are, it's like it's a two-man race to uh, a Thanksgiving table that 10 men can, that's going to take 10 men to eat.
Yeah.
So, or 10 women, depending on your,
Like,
10 whatevers.
I done an example earlier in one of the videos. I actually brought a cow onto the video. He has an eye infection at the moment. And I said, look, I've taken him away from the herd. Yeah, the growth trajectory of the herd will be quicker than his at the moment. But once I introduce him back into the herd, e.g., once Archer gets certification, look, you won't be able to tell them apart. So,
Yeah.
but then we have Christian White says, I think Joby will hit first, Archer 6 months later. So Joby definitely will come fast. I just hope they have room for luggage. I know you put that comment there under the one I done about New York. Now, this one about New York, I was more doing this on actual public transport being used on daily commute. So this wasn't to and from the airport. That's separate completely. And if you think to and from work, like when you go on the subway or you get in an Uber, not every day you have a 20-kilo suitcase with you. So look, I think
that that ties into that. See, I'm going to jump right back to what we discussed on Sunday, and what I brought up is this space is right now they're looking for like taking an SUV and moving an SUV and 4 people that you can fit in it with bags. But how often are you getting 4 people in an Uber? A lot of times it's just one person.
yeah.
And you're going to see this use case where it's just going to be one person or 2 people, which
But that's the
makes
thing.
me.
You've actually brought up a really good point there. If you get an Uber and you have 4 people, there's not, unless you order an Uber XL, there's not enough room for 4 people's 20-kilo suitcases.
Yeah. So I think that this market, obviously, Joby and Archer are going to be the first movers in this market, but there's so much more opportunity for different profiles, profiles that we haven't even thought of or seen yet, that are going to flying aircraft that are going to come out. That I think the market is so ripe in the next 5 years, and especially when you turn on autonomy.
We might have
Autonomy is going to
EHang
be
take over.
autonomy is going to be a game changer. I mean, that's just it. EHang will be successful. It just won't be successful in the US. But you're going to have a ton of people wanting to fly on an EHang just for the experience, and that's fine. Have fun. But when you get to I like think about it, the projections with Tesla right now, like the projections are fairly small because you have human in the loop. You need a driver. But when you start getting self-driving car, their business projections change, and they compound and continue to compound on top of each other, with autonomy. And I think in 5 years, and this is probably why Boeing is not really in an enormous rush yet. They said Whisk will be a fully autonomous, and they'll just develop an aircraft that'll be for autonomy. and that's in about 5 years. So a lot more room for growth.
Guys, jump in and smash the like button. There's 54 people there. We've only got 13 likes. Do jump in. Let us know how you're feeling about the market today. Look, this was what do we call it? An emergency meeting, a quick one. Jump on, see how you guys are getting on. Your friend Terry says, Liam, Joby grabbed Blade. Is there another Blade-like company for Archer? Off the top of my head, I wouldn't be familiar with any company like Blade. But again, we sort of go along the fact that like
I would think that there's plenty of helicopter companies out in the California or the Bay Area. It's not like helicopters haven't been flying charter services for the last 30 years. So,
and like Blade isn't going to help them with that mass scale out. We still come down to the problem that not the problem, but like there's still enough room for loads of potential competition in this area. This isn't being bearish on Joby. This is saying Joby will succeed. They will be a dominant force in the industry. But it's like saying, I don't know, when cars first took off, Ford were going to be the monopoly. Well, Ford weren't going to be the monopoly. They just can't produce enough cars. So, look, they're successful, and that's the only sort of thing there is Tesla. Tesla kind of put a spanner in the works.
yeah, I'll be interested to see if Ford and Toyota and General Motors are producing small size cars in 5 years, just because Tesla will be able to manufacture their cars at such a cheaper rate that which is interesting. It makes it great to go to it's an interesting business case as an aerospace engineer to go to Ford or GM and say, hey, you want to get into the eVTOL space or the hybrid vertical takeoff space and just change your business case a bit.
Did I lose you there for a second? We have Terry come on and say, how about luggage following you on a drone? Imagine they got the Cavorite X5 following them. They could restart the Cavorite X5 and have the Cavorite X5 follow them as a luggage carrier. £150. Could be done.
And I think, remember, the X5 was a demonstrator. That doesn't mean that they can't. The X5 was just a demonstrator, so that can be reconfigured. It can be optimized. That there was you build a concept demonstrator just to show the public what you're capable of. But they could reconfigure the X5 into something and probably make it into a drone and go off and start making revenue. That could be potentially one of their explosive announcements.
Adam, actually, what was I diving into? Yes. Oh, the 7,000 feet flight, was it? No, it wasn't. It was that and the eVTOL integrated pilot program. Adam actually came out and said it's good for them getting their concept across because they're looking to roll out into the UAE. And then he said something like, and then get the FAA certification, which we always knew that was on the cards first, but it was just the way he said it was like, okay, you're just going to go full steam ahead for the UAE, try and dominate that market in there first, and then come across to the US. It was a really interesting one to start dig into, and I can't wait to speak to Dylan on it. Christian says, I guess I could buy 4 seats and use the 2 other seats for luggage. Cuff says Volocopter and UAE. Christian, right, good idea, your friend Terry. Who is into consistent manned flight? Christian White says, I see 14. Archer's following the electric vehicle path and working on unmanned transport. Hence, the military wants them. This is why I think they're in the lead. Don't get twisted. Joby are definitely in the lead. There's nothing we can say. Look, I'm bullish Archer, but Joby are in the lead. Hands down, they're in the lead. That's it. I'm gonna buy a 2028 Olympics T-shirt when it comes in 700 days. eVTOL Super Bowl, baby. Use a red cat. Get the stock. It's cheap. Red cat's a nice one to look into. Anything else interesting you have, Mark, that you want to share?
No, not at this point. It's been a busy week. I would say be bold in the respect of, the market has been continually going up for the last few months, like literally since the bottom. It's just been consistently going up. So I think it may actually be a little healthy that we take a bit of a breather. Some people are taking some winnings off the top. I'm not selling any of my positions. I actually bought more today. I bought another 500 shares of Job X, which is the 2 times ETF of Joby. And there is an Archer ETF now as well. That is the 2 times ETF.
Yeah, Dylan was on about something like that.
Yeah. So if you're really into swing trading, this isn't financial advice, but these eVTOL companies are now starting to come out with leveraged ETFs, which allow you to double your gains or double your losses as well. But
I actually want to share something with you guys. Looking at quotes the last day, just to fire myself up. Look, we are all afraid of taking risk, guys. I myself, look, I have always been fairly risky investor. It's done me well so far. Look, it doesn't mean it's gonna continue lasting, but we're all afraid to take risks. But at the same time, you should be more afraid to be left behind.
I agree.
Like with Archer and Joby at the moment, look, you're seeing them sell off. Don't get scared. Look, this is not financial advice. Do whatever you feel best. But be more afraid of being left behind in this explosive industry. Why do we always believe that the devil we know is better than the devil we don't? Just sit on that, guys. But yeah, continuing the rollout of the videos. Excited to keep going. Yeah, jump in. Let me know. Do you want me to cover vertical aerospace, EHang, or Ondas Holdings? I'll continue with Archer. Race will continue with Joby. We're integrating Merck in here. Dylan's continuing with his homemade flight tracker. Absolutely love it. And he's rolling out that thesis. That thesis is really good. I think we'll get him doing a recorded video of that thesis when he's complete it. But guys, my name is Liam, one of the host brothers here. This has been a little bit different, a little bit more laid back. Emergency meeting. Look, we said we'll go every Sunday around, I don't know, 4:30 Eastern time or so. But if we have any news during the week or we just fancy a chat, we will jump on. So always keep an eye out. Do smash the notification bell. Jump in, bang the subscribe button, hit the like button on the way out. Guys, until Sunday, we'll see you then.
Be bold, guys.